Alright, so you want to play Forsaken as a beginner in 2026? Well, listen closely to my guide, which will teach you the basics of Forsaken, such as some of the beginner characters and basically how you play the game, as well as what all these buttons here do. So let's get right into it. At the start we have the inventory, probably the most important button here, since it allows you to buy characters and see the abilities and info of the different characters for both killer and survivor. It shows you who you do and don't have, like these locks and stuff like that. And basically in this game there are killers and survivors. The killers must successfully kill all the survivors within a certain time limit, and the round timer at the start is usually about 4 minutes. But when someone gets killed, they add 40 seconds to the timer, so the killer can keep killing for a little longer. Survivors can counter this extra time though by doing some generators and reducing the time by 3.5 seconds per piece. Like, these are generators, you basically just hop on them and just solve this little puzzle. They also usually give you some rewards if you're actually in the round, but that's not that important right now. Okay, so anyways, we have the shop. This is where you can buy stuff like Robux or something, but although I do not recommend doing this, especially if you're just a new player. Although if you do plan to buy something here, I'd recommend the VIP because it gives you an EXP boost and stuff like that. But the shop is mostly for skins and stuff, as you can see, for like all different kinds of characters. You can even see like what skins are new and stuff, as well as skins for killers, and lastly some emotes. Oh, these are not that important. Alright, quick rundown of what each of the characters do and what their roles are, starting with Shedletsky. Shedletsky is your average support, sentinel, survivalist, hybrid type character. He can stun the killer with his sword to help survivors get away. His stun lasts like 3 seconds, and after that he can also eat his chicken to heal 30 HP. But you have to be really careful because each one of his moves slows him down. And if you, for example, miss your slash or eat the fried chicken mid-chase, then you basically just die. Then we have Noob, who used to be the only beginner character, was now accompanied by Shedletsky and Elliot. Noob has 3 abilities: Bloxy Cola, Slate Skin Potion, and Ghost Burger. Like one more ability than the other 2 beginner survivors, and they do different things. Noob is all classified as a survivalist, and he drinks and eats his different items to help him survive by, for example, giving him speed 1 for 10 seconds with Bloxy Cola. The Slate Skin Potion allows him to tank damage for about 6 seconds, and he gets a speed boost after it ends, so you can kind of use it like a miniature Bloxy Cola if you cancel it early for a small speed boost. And lastly, the Ghost Burger. It's not actually that good, but it makes you transparent and hides you from detection abilities for 10 seconds. It's pretty good for hiding and stuff, but it slows you down heavily like the other two abilities during the wind up. And when the killer's close to you, I do not recommend using these unless you're low stamina and you absolutely have to. Lastly, Elliot. He's a support character who can assist his teammates by healing. Basically, he has his Pizza Throw and Rush Hour. Pizza Throw heals survivors for about 30 HP after the nerf, but he doesn't have to slow himself down while throwing the pizza, and survivors can pick it up from the ground and eat it if he just so happens to miss. These pizzas give him charges for his Rush Hour, which allows him to move much faster for like 3 seconds for about 4 seconds. Although after it ends, if you have 2 or more charges, it does give you exhaustion, which, you know, reduces the amount of stamina you regain and increase stamina that you spend for each second of running. So it's a bit balanced when you desperately need some distance but have no one to help you nearby. It's also useful for getting to your teammates faster so you can heal them, since if you're far away enough from the killer, it won't use your charges and you can use it for yourself later when you get chased. Now the killers. The 2 starter killers are Cool Kid and Slasher. Slasher is basically the default killer at this point. He is a melee rushdown killer, which excels in chasing survivors and keeping up pressure for long amounts of time before inevitably killing his target. He has a basic slash attack that basically every killer has. It's also called an M1, which is very spammable, has decent hitbox, and comes out relatively quickly with okay damage, although it isn't the best. Then we have his free abilities: Behead, Gashing Wound, and Raging Pace. Behead lunges you forward a bit and inflicts helpless on the survivor that it hits, although you do get slowness 1 for 2 seconds. Helpless just blocks the survivor's abilities, so you can get a little bit of an easier chase if they're, for example, a Shedletsky, so you don't have to really be careful about their stun. Next, Gashing Wound, it just deals 50 damage in a square hitbox in front of you, but it does have its downsides due to the fact that it has a long wind up and people who are sprinting, like, basically physically cannot get hit by this move unless you're right next to them. This is best used when people are slowed, for example after they missed something like a block, a slash, or gunshot and whatever, or they're on a generator and they're distracted. Lastly, Raging Pace, probably Slasher's best ability. His sprint gets locked, but his walk speed is drastically increased to about 7 studs per second faster than that of a survivor's walk speed, so it allows him to catch up on low stamina while regaining. So when you're at about 80 stamina, you can use your M1, which lunges you forward to get a little bit of extra distance, and if you pop Raging Pace close enough and follow all these steps, then you're basically guaranteed to kill the survivor unless someone helps them. Then we have Cool Kid, the second starter killer. He is a hybrid of different things. He can excel in rush down, zoning, and like sniping and whatever. He also has normal M1, has the fastest wind up, decent damage, and lingers the longest out of all M1s in this game. Although the hitbox is very small, so you have to be precise and careful with it because you can get juked. Corrupt Nature is Cool Kid's projectile ability, which you can use on low stamina to pressure survivors to dodge and slow them if it hits, along with dealing 15 damage, which is decent when combined with other moves. Walk Speed Override is Cool Kid's dash move. He lunges forward for like, I don't know. He dashes forward for like a decent bit, so you can use it to quickly catch up to survivors. Let me show it for a second. Yeah, but you can basically just use Walk Speed Override either as a damage and punish tool when survivors are distracted and slowed, for example on generators or after they miss their attack. But when you're on low stamina and the survivor is like far away from you, you can easily just click this and dash forward a long distance, which saves you tons of stamina and time in the long run. His last ability is Pizza Delivery. He summons 2 pizza bots that deal 20 damage to survivors and applies slowness 2 for 4 seconds, which is a 20% slowdown, and that's quite a lot, allowing you to catch up pretty easily as long as the survivor is nearby. Otherwise, if someone is in a corner, you can easily pop Pizza Delivery to zone them, pressure them, along with Corrupt Nature and Walk Speed Override when they're forced to either take your Walk Speed Override or walk through the minions, which will basically have to take damage regardless if you're in a tight corridor like this one. Cool Kid is a very versatile killer. He's also probably my favorite character in this game, and he has a special last man standing with 0, 0, 7, and 7 called Plead, which is a longer LMS than the usual 1 minute and 14 seconds you get, because it's 16 seconds longer. So I'm not saying that you should particularly leave 0, 0, 7, and 7 for last, but it can be quite useful if you have to choose between the 2 last survivors on low time. In general, killers have more stamina than survivors, as you can probably see here, 110, along with the stamina gain and loss stats compared to survivors, which obviously spend more stamina, regain less stamina, and have less max stamina, along with a lower sprinting speed, but they do have a much higher walking speed, which allows them to regain stamina much more safely, while also gaining distance as long as the killer is also regaining stamina. Speaking of stamina, you have about 10 or 11 seconds of sprint time, depending on if you're the killer or survivor. For survivors, you have 10 seconds of sprint that you can use wisely. It's pretty decently fast, although it is slower than all killers in the game by at least 1 stud. but you can walk and regain a decent amount of stamina if the killer is far away from you. I'd recommend not moving in like zigzags or in circles unless you're juking the killer by like dodging their M1s with like kind of erratic movements. But even then, I would only do that once and then like usually take a hit for the speed boost and run away after you gain a bit of stamina, like around 30 or 20. But typically 30 stamina regained after you have a bit of distance from the killer, so you can keep running and having a little bit of distance while they still lag behind, so you can greatly extend your chases by doing this. Another way to extend your chases is by looping, by like running around certain objects and using loop chaining, basically just doing the same thing as looping but except around multiple smaller objects. This is done because the killer is forced to walk around the whole loop instead of walking directly to you. And with loop chaining, it's useful because it has the same benefits as looping, except you also gain a little bit of distance from the killer while doing it. There are also plenty of different maps in the game that you can play on, all with their different loops. Yeah, for example, in Glass House, there's this pretty memorable loop here. For example, this one, which you probably already saw in the thumbnail. These L-shaped rocks, and this for loop chaining, which can like put a lot of distance between you and the killer using a minimal amount of stamina. Overall, if you loop, basically if you don't loop well in this game, you just die and there's nothing you can do. Because if you walk in a straight line, the killer is going to catch up no matter what you do. So looping is very useful, especially since usually all maps have at least a few decent looping spots that you can chain between. Even smaller little walls like this one or this one can be loop chained effectively, although it's not as good as some of the other spots on some maps like these. A small tip in general for killer: if you don't notice your stamina draining either here, then here, or if you're using the center stamina counter over here in the middle of your screen, it means there's no survivor nearby. When there's no survivor nearby, you will not drain stamina, and once you start draining stamina, you will know that a survivor is nearby. Finally, we have the settings. You can basically just adjust your keybinds to your liking. You can change the FOV, which I would recommend 80 the maximum so you can see the most. Then another important setting is the music, emote, and the SFX volume. You want to crank this SFX thing all the way up to 200, meanwhile decreasing your music volume and emote volume to around 30 so you can still hear things like footsteps and a chase theme. Probably the last important setting in this game are the attack hitboxes and collision hitboxes. You basically always want to have one of them on. The visible collision hitboxes aren't that important, but the attack hitboxes definitely are, because they tell you how far your attack reaches, like how wide it is, and if it will probably hit. It also helps you with learning the different interactions in this game, like when you can pop a move like walk speed override and still land it at a certain distance because of the hitbox length or width. Anyways, if you like my tutorial, then please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Bye. Tell me if I should make any more videos like this in the future, and just comment down below and I'll make sure to check it out. Bye.